somewhat. Hope everybody is doing fabulous. Fine. Uh, let's see. Got my little. I'm all the way back into the corner. Oh well. So, okay. Let me see. Mm, well, I like it like that, you guys. Yeah, this is probably better. Well, thanks. Okay, like that. Yeah. Okay, it's a little bit riggy. I'm in my office space. So, anyways, um, so where I'm at right now, I'm comfortable. We're in the north, so the weather's like really nice. Like it's like lake, like be at the lake nice. so, and clear skies. It's sunny, obviously. Nice little cool breeze. I love the overcast of the shadow from the trees, all of that. So yeah, I'm dressed down. Also, my last off day, so I go to work. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna be so busy. Oh my gosh, they did a promotion and it was such a success. They're continuing the promotion, which means my telephone, when I come back, which is t- uh, tomorrow morning, 3 a.m. my time. For the rest of the world, is like 8, 9 a.m. And I'll be with them. My 2 p.m. my time, 8 p.m. their time. Oh yes, the phone is going to be ringing off the hook, and I'll try to come in and actually like kind of like hang out and be okay. Yeah, okay. I'll try to hang out and be maybe allow you all to see again how I work. I like to do that from like periodically from time to time. Uh, this one is about, I had a vision. Well, it's like a dream and like a vision dream. And, one thing is for certain is that, I've actually psychically have been looking at all of the directions, um, like where is this presidency taking us, bringing us, and more, it's actually pointing towards the Democratic Party, and that goes all the way back to like like World War I, um, one, two, both of those, and also the formation of the UN. I'm doing research on that. UN, of course, founded um, was founded under the Democratic Party. Actually, the Democratic Party started the union, and it was October 24th. And the sole purpose of that was so that all the nations could come together to resolve their issues before it becomes like, because that's the whole point of North Korea was to detour aggression. So that's what is stated in the books. So the UN formation allows, rather than like if we were just talking or tension, we didn't know, that we're okay. We are both um, modern and conservative, and but just different nations and things like that. Well, what if we all talked before where we come place where we can just talk things out? So that's why it was formed. So and each time that in these moments of war, the even although it was a um, the turns out that yes, the Democrats under the Democratic Party, I should say it that way, under the Democratic presidency, did the World War, like to go to war, which is to defend democracy. All that comes from that language, definitely Democratic Party. What I learned, but I also come at times of hope. So, and also Democratic Party, the whichever the nation that was like who lost, obviously, the U.S. has always helped gave them the ability to rebuild and in infrastructure. So that's also I learned that as well. So it wasn't like divide, conquer, destroy, leave as is. They actually um, United States actually would go in and help bolster their infrastructure so that they could rebuild and get on with society, get on with life, and of course, being in a place where issues, problems can be resolved, and it's only getting better, which gives me a better understanding of why, um, like someone who, let's say, like a Republican president, to maybe not always align well with the United Nations, form the all of that. But this is leading up to, well, what does this have to do with Kamala Harris? Well, the vision, when Jesus Christ is talking to me, I'm in my tarot cards. One thing that I was picking up on is that each of these times of war, there's always the Democratic Party has always somebody or some president from the Democratic Party would step up, and that person um, was to be um, an arbiter of peace, and would always come in raising this element of the theme would be something regarding hope, and I'm watching this play out, but in the form of a woman. In fact, very intersectional type of presidency administration to come is what I'm looking at. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I get it. uh, Jesus Christ is pointing out to me that Kamala Harris is taking on the reins of, such as like with other presidencies, um, to move things along in terms of the direction towards, of course, we all say democracy, but specifically the hope in the democracy, hope in it, and also the hope that is extended to other nations, other people, especially just as the what they say, uh, Harris's her song is, that any nation has autonomy over themselves and the ability to thrive as a democracy. So that is very fascinating that she's carrying the soul of these of so many elements here. But what's even more uh, pulling me in the direction towards Kamala Harris is it goes even so much more into um, like the way that she is aligning with the truth that yes, in her concerns with in her stance as to what's already happening on the world stage in terms of conflict. We'll just leave it at that. Conflict that she genuinely would like to see people having their autonomy and also being able to reside or be in control or have consistency over their own autonomy, it with, for each nation, even if she doesn't hold that nation near her, those are her values, and that is empathy. And that, because empathy is ethics, not to be confused with compassion. Compassion is another thing. Compassion is like how, for example, women and children, who are, like the unfortunate casualties of war at times. So she's pointing that out. So I love that mindset, that not to remove the humanity from the experience of 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 the direction towards a presidency. So I do like that, and that I'm going to continue to always respect, and also, pay very close attention to, because I think it was so important when Jesus Christ pointed out that Kamala Harris, is now her turn to carry the hope torch, and the theme, also her running mate, speaking on the name Hope that he gave to his daughter and what it meant to his family, but what it also means to families, to establish one's own family, but also to have the autonomy in one's own lives over one's life. It ties into what, the presidencies that is now we're talking about. If on the time bar, we're looking at like the world wars, like World War One, World War Two, and then of course the conversations, the debates of whether or not a World War Three is even in our reach, which is, of course, the White House stated that there is not going to be a World Three. Putin does not, unequivocally, does not want a World War Three, with nukes. He does not want that. He believes that that is a U.S. position from propagandas, and he is right. He is right. And he also stated that to Tucker on the when they had interview in Twitter. So yeah, so I acknowledge that. Um, and let me see. Do I want to talk about that? No, I'm not. No, I'm not going to go into that part. Okay. What about the hope though? The hope thing. Oh, so like for example, during the well after. Okay, no. Depression happens, and the presidency at that time had came up with the perfect solutions. I have more studies to do on this, so I'm gonna like be very vague. And this was the World War. This would have been World War II, and around that time, where it led to the, somebody said Cold War was kind of treading into that area. But anyways, America under Republican presidency was ran completely out of resources. 4 months till taking the having won and then giving the inauguration speech, um, the Democratic presidency comes in, and then comes in with the message of hope. So that's where I'm getting this. Well, how is Kamala Harris associated? Because a lot of the same features, a lot of the same conversations were actually pulling from these past world experience, very real world experiences into 2024. And as much as it appeared or looked like we were going leaning towards, and in fact, it's October spooky season. Now you've got like the doomsday sayers. They're back at it again. They've got they got that doggone beast with the crowns and the lady, in the pretty little scarlet dress. She did her makeup, did her hair. She got on her heels, and she's just like, living life, having a few drinks. And they're like, yeah, yeah, and then they got all of the the European countries, just all European countries, right? You're like, here, look, it's this one stands for this one is for that head, and this one's for this one, and it's like, and there, I'm like, it's like, I'm trying to get people to say like, okay, I'm a psychic. I do psychic readings for a living. I predict people's dreams for a living, which I do have a live stream for that, which I'm supposed to do today. I know. I can do it today, which I'll do it today, and then I will clarify and give greater detail to all this that I'm talking about with the history stuff and past. It's just that I have to get everything right on whenever I do like initiate this conversation because first of all, I have to be ready to defend it because it is a direct hit. And so, yeah, I am going to definitely get that in place. But I wanted to kind of allow us to get closer to November because I think it has a lot to do with Kamala Harris' ascent. Because there is an ascent offering going on. I mean, I know an ascent offering for a woman. Yes, yes, an ascent offering for a woman traditionally is for the uncircumcised to be circumcised, um, first sons, and then the first sons, and then the sons thereafter follow preceding, all of the first son, firstborn of the houses. In Ishmael's case, there were two houses, so we have to remember that, or so there's Ishmael, who is the, of course, the prince, stretching across, Egypt, the Arab world, etc. And then there's um, in, um, so like yeah, so like Abraham's Isaac, and so Isaac becomes like the firstborn. So wow, an ascent off. So these were the ascent offerings, and we can go into the ascent offering. Like, what does it even represent? What does an ascent offering even mean? What does it even represent? We can go into that as well, more towards November, as yes, Kamala Harris is going to go through the ascent offering as even as a woman, because it's the symbol, and I can give reason why that is appropriate. um, when Jerusalem is being increased, she is talked to the first one who, oftentimes it is the wife or a woman who God had the messenger, if you want to say Gabriel, to inform, and his message, his will, and then he tells Abraham second, and then there's things that he told Abraham first that he goes on to tell Hagar, Ishmael's mom. So it was like interchangeably. There's one time where he speaks to Hagar first, then he tells Abraham, and then he goes and he tells Hagar. So God is no respect of persons, nor respect of nationality, or he does not practice what is it called? Um, uh, it's the one with the E. Ethnophobia. He does not practice that, because Hagar lineage is Egyptian, and even when everybody's entering into the promised land, and when Israel was fussing, having a big fuss, the fact that um, the son father is Egyptian man, and his mama is Jewish or Israel, and and of course, the entire chapter 24 in the book of Leviticus is about the chastisement of that person who said it by the congregation. Specifically, use the word congregation. And then everybody was blessed as all the nations that aligned along the journey with Israel on their way to promised land, or what we call the land of Canaan, the land of the Canaanites, and they were blessed, and they became part of the house of Jacob, because Jacob, remember, leads them in. They were engrafted into the house of Jacob. Egyptian, everybody, not just the Israel sons and the sons, young sons, and the no, um, in the original script in Hebrew, it talks about Egyptian living right smack in the center, in the midst of all the young sons who are Israel. And then also in the land of Canaan, it talks about Canaan living side by side with all their liberties intact, again with the young Israel around about them, living in houses, planting. That's why I when they archaeologists went and they found something about the Palestine, how close that they are to the land of Canaan, and all they found was farmers. They said, when we look, because the Bible indicates that there was this big battle that the Israel just devastated, demolished uh, Canaan, but we have no sign that there were any cities here. In fact, they were like cohesively working together, and also farming. This is a story that DNA does not tell of a war, and but this is the problem in the original text. It doesn't even talk about a war at all. It's not even about Israel versus Canaan, a war. There's not even a war described, but somehow in their book, it translates that there's some type of a war or battle, but there wasn't one. They just entered into the land, and then they were given commands, and there's three groups, and that's a trinity. There are the nations that entered in with Israel into the land of Canaan. Oh, by the way, Canaan is Hebrew, is a what they call it, is Semitic, connecting to Noah, right? So they even spoke Hebrew. They spoke the same language. Number one, so it wasn't like this group of people, this other or gnarly people over here. They don't even speak the language, and if they only could talk to each other, maybe they could have worked it out. No, they were instructed to live side by side, and Israel was informed in several different ways that you could tell someone, don't go in there showing out thinking that you running something, that you over somebody, that you owning somebody. You don't, you use somebody's services, you pay it for it, you touch it, you buy it. You don't uh make me pay a gratuity for using a shovel, these kinds of things. And you pay me all 7 years. And then I incorporate, and then you continue to pay me, but you pay me my rate because my rate goes up, and you can even prorate. I could prorate you. So let's say you don't need me for 7 more years, you need me for 4 years. And all right, we work out something that we can do for 4 years. And you don't put a lien on my property, you don't put a lien on my field, so I can't like provide for my family. So I mean, so it's a whole huge contract. That's what's discussed in the Bible, as in the Hebrew, whereas Hebrew to English, as opposed to, I don't even know where they're talking about what there was a battle that's described in the Bible. But it's funny when they went scientifically to go check it out, and that's what they came up with. Scientifically, they said, even with the DNA, doesn't foretell a story of that there was a battle. They just see a city where it appears that everybody was like mingled up, because that was the only thing that they would be doing. And they were farming. They weren't even warring. They were farming. So then they described how, like, the fact that more like the Arabs, yeah, from the like the Africa, coming up from the southern word from out of Africa, that they were hunters. They were hunters and gatherers and so forth. And then they joined farmers. So the more out there, I guess, more northern you go, they were more like into the farming bit. So they basically brought in two ways of living, from their, I guess, cultural engagement. And like Turkey is also from like Arab, but they went further out there and gravitated more in the they say Neanderthal. Yeah, and they just kept going. So they left early, much earlier. That's how they are, but they are very much linked. They're linked in. So there you have it. But anyways, yeah. So yeah, we can. I mean, we can go into that. I mean, that's not a problem. But as you like really are looking into the story, like you begin to realize, wow, this is telling a story. This is telling us a story about like how like everything else has to come together, cohesively. So that's what this is about. It's about cohesion, working together, everything flowing in the right way. It's about, like truly like living in this lifetime, living together and being connected. It is about hope. And that's what Kamala Harris is bringing. She's bringing in that element of hope, and she's bringing in that understanding that that in this world, there's reasons why people behave in the way that they do. Like, okay, Vladimir Putin may be a bad guy, but he's not like the beast and all that. He's not that bad guy. Not like that. But Vladimir Putin doesn't want to be a bad guy. Not like that. I mean, I want to be a bad guy, but not like that kind of bad guy. Like, and I don't want to be a stupid bad guy. Like if I can't have the land, you can't have the land because I'm gonna blow it up with a nuke. No, he does not gonna do that. He's like, what do I want to be able to like be here, see it, own it, and like, look, we got it. I don't want to wait 20 years. 20 years, I'm gonna be here 20 years. No. And I'm not like rushing to get there either. So no, just because I'm old and I'm like gotta make a statement before I get out of here. I'm not doing that. I'm not like out of control dictator, knowing that my end is near and I just like fumble the ball at the very end and let everybody down and go down in history. No, I'm not doing that. Uh, you know. So but I already did, some predictions on that. Of course, if you've looked at the screenshot, it's up there. Like he'll never give up on wanting Ukraine. He'll never give up on that. But he doesn't want to nuke it either. He mess it, make a shape, mess it up, shake it, and reshape it, and do some renaming, and and infiltrate, like make his culture the dominant culture. Yes, yeah. See, when you talk about personalities, it's the subtleties, it's the details. That is what we're missing. So, and yes, there is, unfortunately, in which Putin did call out. He said, "No, that's coming from you. You all think I want to be like 666, be the beast. You think I want to be ahead of the crown? Like, what do I mean? I have a crown. Like, there are no nemesis. There's no one running against me." Trust, he's like emperor. I mean, even though he may not be called an emperor, but he's pretty much like he's like emperor. you know, like Xi of China. Like in fact, they're friends. Okay, like he doesn't need a crown like that in that sense, and he don't need to be, he's not. His calling is not to help to bring in that formation. So it's because so now that is becoming the look. It looks a little bit more falsified more and more, but people still hopping on, creating thumbnails with like this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, be prepared, and it's not gonna happen. A whole nother situation, conversation. Jesus Christ showed me. Whew. She's gonna bring in so much hope as the presidencies, Democratic presidencies at that brought in. Not saying there are Republican presidents who I absolutely adore, love very much, but we're talking about talking about Democratic presidency. So though this is the alignments that I noticed that are taking shape. And Jesus Christ also revealed, besides that she's going to bring in hope, but also she's going to speak this kind like level of hope, uh, to like speaking to democracy, that is, for like any nation that is seeking its autonomy or deserving of its autonomy, regardless if they are like close to us as possible. And I also needed to go into, I know this is a big question, a big universal psychic question, and I should I drop that dime? I wanted to wait till November to share this, but I'll share it here. So it'll be the first time you all are really hearing this because I really don't talk much about it. But the reason, okay, so why is the U.S., let alone the world, why is the U.S. so directly connected? I mean, like it's like we're related, practically. It's like you'd swear that that's our brother and sister. Like in fact, they are. But everybody. But what? Why Israel? Yes. Even with the Bible, even with the Bible on the table. Oh, my Bible's in the next room, so I can't be prop. Uh, Here, the tarot cards represent the both Old and New Testament. There you go. So, but why? Okay, so in America's founding, right? Like roughly like before like America's just now becoming the formation, the um the formation of America becoming now a business, incorporating now. There was a president which would make him the first president. So in the genesis of America, right? And that would be none other than George Washington, right? Well, there was such a day or such um, a space in time where we acknowledge things to be thankful or grateful for. Hence, that's why I wanted to wait until November. This would have been more fitting. Um, so it was for Thanksgiving. He says, it's a Thanksgiving. He George Washington, the first president, brought in from, remember, the Jewish people, right? They came a Sephardic. They came over, from Spain. They had an exodus from Spain and other areas around the world, but particularly Spain, Sephardic. So they brought them in, and they were welcomed to the White House. There are two doors. There's a white door, and then there's a black door. Of course, they went in through the white door. So they come in, they went into the presidency, and they were the guests, they were the ward, just as a New Testament. You treat your guests, these are your guests, these are your wards. In Leviticus, where you all say, oh yeah, Israel had servants. No, they didn't. Those people were called, they were called their associates, they were called their companions, they were called their brothers, they were called their sisters, but they were never called servants. They were called servants for hire. And the Bible is very distinct, and that is why for the ascent offering, that's why they had to go. That's why they had to go. That's why Aaron had to do the ascent offering to get the commandments. And Aaron was trusted by God. Aaron was not only allowed to go himself go into the holy of holies, where if you were unclean even a little bit, you fall dead, right? And they put bells on you, and they know to drag you out on because you had a rope tied to you. But he could go in there and eat in the temple and feast as well as with his family. That's how close Aaron was in favor to God, right? So he had to do an ascent offering before Israel and the nations were even allowed to go enter into the Canaan, and what that entails. So, what is the ascent offering? How you going to treat other people? No, you're going to treat them well. These are your guests. That's why when they say you were a servant, no, that's not a badge of honor. You were a servant, no, in Egypt, and I brought you out of Egypt. I'm your God. No, 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 no. He's saying, don't go in there acting pompous and arrogant and now trying to make people serve you as you once served Egypt that I got you out of. So we're not going in there to put them under the same situations that you're under. So when you read it in its original text, it makes you hate a little less the gods. It really does, because it really begins to make sense. But I'm not trying to go in that direction. I mean, just for the sake, I think I've even lost a little bit of track here, but pretty much that's how it all correlates to this, you know, um, to this ascent, to this like moving into these directions of like what hope, what level of hope is being instilled here. So what is being practiced here? um, Devotion, with great devotion. And I have a sense that Kamala Harris has that devotional spirit that it's going to take to see this through. I do believe she's got, because remember, she also, which I did a live on this one, she showed up in a dream of in a vision where she was visiting me, which I probably should say this part. I had a vision dream where she visited me, and I woke up, I was like, Kamala Harris? I was like, it's like, like, are you okay? And then I was like looking on the floor, making sure that was, nothing that she was gonna trip over or anything like that. And I looked at her towards her feet. You know how dreams are. So I looked towards her feet, and she had a clock, and the clock was one of those old wooden ones with the dial, hand dial. And of course, it's going to say 6 o'clock, but it was a clock, and it was like, at her feet, and it represented that, like, I've got the time, like I've got the full time. And she was escorted also in. There were three other people that followed in after her, which were, I believe that they were seraphim, like people guiding the whole, for the vision, allowing us to see. Now, this is the kinds of dreams that I get before each president, before as they take office. They always come to me in their own way. That means, yes, Donald Trump came to me in his own way. Barack Obama came to me in his own way, and so forth. So, and so that's why I have a feeling that, and plus a lot of my psychic envisionings have all been about like the relevancy of Kamala Harris's campaign. So more and more, I get more of these insights that's telling the story that she's going to be the next president of the United States. She's going to be Madam President Kamala Harris of the United States. She is. I can sense it. I can feel it. I've had dreams about it. I've had visions about it. Jesus Christ told me, is telling me about it. So all of that. Um, so what else? What else is there? Okay, what time is it? Okay, I have 20 more minutes. Well, I might as well just relax. Oh, uh, mm-mm-mm. Well, I don't have to. I don't have to do. I don't. Well, I really don't have to do one. The one about the dream because actually it's. I still have it. I didn't eliminate it. I just what they call it. I put it in private. So yeah, I privated it so that no one can. You can't see it unless I unprivate it, and then when I'm ready, I can then bring it forward. I can bring it forward, and one thing that I was able to understand or figure out was uh, is that yes, Kamala Harris, regardless of her, that yes, regardless, that's it, her, regardless that Kamala Harris is a her, a she, herself. It doesn't it does not mean that uh, God won't use her. It does not mean Jesus Christ doesn't have a plan for her. Jesus Christ has a plan for Kamala Harris to bring in hope to the world. And she's the next Democratic president to carry that torch as previous but very specific presidencies, presidency essentially, especially speaking towards the economy. Mhm, which I'm gonna do yeah, that's gonna be a lengthy live stream. That's gonna be a lengthy live stream. I will talk about that. Absolutely. Um, gosh, October is gonna be busy because October is a what they call it, a festivity month. So it's a lot that's gonna be going on, and also I want people to see how I work. So I need to get back on here and allowing y'all to see me answering phones and how I answer, the questions and things like that, so that those of you who are intending to work with me someday, you will know how I work. You'll know how I answer the phone and how polite and professional that I am and things of that nature. So I'm definitely thrilled about that. Um, she is yeah, so she's going to be experiencing the ascent offering. Hmm. She's ready too. She's ready. Uh, because oh yeah, that was to no respect of persons. Hmm. Because regardless of gender or uh, if wherever you're from, nationality wise. So we went into the whole Egyptian, nations, things like that, the way that people were to be treated. We went through that. Oh yeah, now okay. So the science discovers that Palestine has a deep connection to the region of Canaan, but because they don't understand the Bible, they didn't know how to phrase it. They said that Palestine are Canaanites, and it said they didn't get they didn't get it. Like they would the parts where I know that Egyptians entered into the Promised Land or the land of Canaan with Israel, they would not have that information. They said no, 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 no. They were at war with Egypt. Uh, So they end up saying, yeah, yeah, yeah. They're Canaan. They're from the land of Canaan. Yes, they are from the land of Canaan, as are a lot of other people from that region. Yes, that's true. They are there. They are the house of Jacob. Yes. They were engrafted. Furthermore, yes, and if they are Canaan, like you say, which they can be, because yes, they were living side by side, and they were guest companions, partnership, and extra. And God, remember Leviticus 24, the whole chapter 2024. God does not care if you mix it up a bit. He doesn't. He honored that interracial marriage. He did. He says, wait a minute. First of all, are they mine? Are they mine? Like, yes. Okay. Then the congregation has to take that, whoever said it, and everybody in agreement, take them out and chastise them. That's what happened. That's chapter 24. Before you get to chapter 2025, where then everybody starts messing up the whole thing, the whole story. So whenever I'm talking about this doesn't make sense because you're talking about 2025. You need it to sound like acts of slavery as a morality for the times, and so oh boy, boy, boy. So I threw in the towel at that point. I give up. I'm not here to save souls. I'm not here to save souls. I'm not anybody's priest or pastor. But there's a story. There's actually the story, and then it makes sense when you go on to read 2025 that what you're actually reading are you're reading about three different nations, and you don't know which nation God is speaking to, because when you read in the original, he addresses each of them by name. Like he'll say to Israel, or to young sons of Israel, or Israel, servants of mine. And then he also talks specifically to the Canaanites. Then he talks specifically to the nations, but he's channeling Israel about the nations, like as in, and like, okay, so you can't treat the Canaanites like this, but also add the same place where you come from, they came from, around the nations. You can't treat them like that either. If they, like, they're engrafted in this as well. So he made a contract, and that is the covenant. That's the covenant that he forged in Leviticus. But he forged it between three separate groups. So that okay. So they discovered. So they discovered Palestinians, which that's great. The science says, wait a minute, but isn't Palestine Arab? They're not Hebrew or Israelite. We know that. Egypt is Arab. Whenever you're in trouble, who do you call? Who comes to you? Relatives come to you, cousins come to you. When Palestine is in their situation, who having to advocate for them? Yes, other Arab nations who are Muslim nations. Who are Muslim nations? Arab. Arab goes all the way from where? Egypt. So Egypt, right? Now Egypt is like, oh no, no, we know our cousin. Our cousin crazy in the head. When our cousins get like at something, they don't sit down. That's why I'm not opening up my borders. But look, we'll talk. We can talk. But no, you can't come in here, because then you go over there, then we can't fight U.S. because then you get to capture our land. Nothing but a land grab. So Egypt is like, y'all left. We want y'all to stay gone. Uh, Abraham already lied, told us that Sarai, who becomes Sarah, it was his sister. Turns out it's his wife, and I was all broken up in boils. Oh yeah, and Pharaoh called Abraham out for lying that Sarai at the time, was his sister. In fact, she's not his sister, but his wife. And the Pharaoh didn't serve them up to the gods or nothing like that. Didn't give them a hair, a, you know, a messed up haircut or nothing. Just said, Pharaoh said, quote, take your woman and all that belong to you and get out. That's all he said to him. Okay. So when you read in the original, by the way, because I know when we think of Egypt and we think of the Bible, we think of like a very sophisticated savage, but actually they're very moral. They're very moral, and they don't like messing around with gods. They don't mess with gods, and they tend to be very now they may be highly oversexed, all the fun stuff, but at the same time, like when they're interacting with the reason why Pharaoh even embraced Abraham was because, yeah, we can ask protection, but Abraham was telling her on her way to Egypt, like, look, you're going to have all these men looking at you because, because Sarai had it going on. And so he's like, look, for both our lives' sake, we're going to lie and say that you're my sister. Okay, so come to me, sister of mine, and then basically, yeah, uh, like Abraham of your wife, gather everything that belongs to you and get out. So that's what he was told by Pharaoh. He didn't. Abraham didn't leave. He came willingly, but he was kicked out in the end. Okay, that's how Abraham made his way to the land of Canaan. The Abraham only reason why Abraham went to Canaan in the first place because he was kicked out of Egypt. I don't want to say again. The first time they didn't want to. I mean, it had no. It was kind of, yeah. That's a little bit one sided. That's I'm reaching if I say they were kicked out of during Moses' time, but but at least in this case, in Abraham's case, that's exactly what happened. So then Abraham goes to that land that was promised, because he says, of course, God is saying, okay, I'm gonna show you a land, and that's gonna be the land I want. He takes him to the land of Canaan. Okay, so this is the promised land. Abraham, right? Then Abraham and Sarah has an Isaac, and then of course Isaac is going to have a Jacob. Jacob is going to then the house of Jacob goes into Canaan, and then everybody becomes the house of Jacob. That's what happens. So, so they're discovering that, and the only reason why I want to look into this because I wanted to say, look, this is about humanity. And just because, like, even if you are born to, let's say, let's say you're born into Canaan, you in 2024, you still need your sovereignty. You should, if you're a nation, you should have your own sovereignty. If you're your own state, be sovereign, right? So it wouldn't matter, but people were trying to like spin them off as some kind of uh, biblical subgroup that was divinely in place to be mistreated, and there was not no mis there wasn't mistreatment of the Canaan scientifically uh, proven when the archaeologists went over there and found five Palestinian lineage there in Canaan, in the cities where there was no sign of any type of war at all, but more like cohesively working like farmers, gatherers, hunters working together. So that means they were mixing it up. And that's what they found. And then, of course, scripturally, in its original Hebrew to English, you find that there is also again no war that happens in the land, and which takes us back. It takes us back to why did they wander 40 years into the desert? They have fought all the nations. They've seen all the great powers. Why? It was not because what you think. Mm-mm. It wasn't what you think. Oh yeah. because uh, particularly this goes all the way back to, this is clearly Moses. So this part's not Abraham. It goes all the way back to Moses. When when Moses, okay, divided the seas, as the Bible story says, they cross it, right? And then they start winning. They're on a winning streak. They've defeated people, but here's the thing: they would win the battles, but the people would like follow after them now. So they had all these people like so surrounding nations about them, and Israel from out of fresh out of Egypt are in the tent, and they're asking Moses that, Moses, this is called the murmurings. That's why God was saying, so you're murmuring to yourselves in your tents. When you hear that conversation, God is speaking. He's saying you're whispering about things, murmurs that you don't think I understand. And basically, what happened? They kept saying, they said, Moses, why are these people, all these nations around us? We didn't kill. I mean, we didn't devastate them already. Like they're destroyed. What more do they want? Like, why don't they just leave? I know they're not thinking about coming to the promised land with us because, the land that land is promised to us, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. That land. There's a land for us. We're gonna. What about our blessings? They can't come with us. That they can't. So that's why. so so what ends up happening is Moses went up there, and then of course, God, show demonstrated. He says, he taught Moses equality and tolerance. Moses came back down and was mad. Like, y'all sitting up there and I look like a fool asking God, why are these people around? And another, excuse me, they come in with us? Why? To the promised land? Wait a minute. That's Abraham, Isaac, that's us. Anyway, and but you know who got their way, because it's documented who got their way at the end. God got his way, and that's why um, uh, uh, Moses, Aaron, all like the priests, they had to bless everybody. They had to bless the animals. They had to bless the young women, that had blessed the men of renown, and the women with the children. They had to bless them, and which is called the engrafting. They went through the engrafting process, and then it goes a little bit more into like in the midst of the people, like the conversations of, I mean, close to the bedroom scene. So that's when you go from the into 20, that's where you get to Leviticus 24, where they're actually blessing other nations. Other nations are being blessed in front of you, and not only being blessed, but actually like God is advocating for them as though that they are engrafted. Engrafted means that you are a part of God's family. Well, in this case, the house of Jacob. So yeah, so there you have it. So what I'm saying is, even if it were true that, yeah, by Bible, some divine message says that anyone extending from like the like blood of Canaan, should be treated one way, and only for that one way, and always be a crutch in society. In 2024, we wouldn't have the capacity to say, you know what, that is wrong. We rationalize that's wrong, and maybe we should, work on that. So, because there shouldn't be a reason why they should have every bit of reason to have the autonomy that they need to live, even though the Bible, of course, doesn't say anything regarding that. It's not even a thing. If it's not even a thing, it's not even a story. That's something that people have out there as though it's real, and it's understood as a real thing in the book. And it's like, that is such a horrific thing to think of, a God that you always talked only knows how to love and not destroy. and you're being asked to go, well, if you don't believe me, go read it for yourself. You're like, no, I'm too scared. If I read that, it's like reading a breakup letter. I can't read that, especially if you are the one that feels more closely connected with the group. The group would be the minority group of like the Canaanites in this situation. So that would be very devastating. And it is fortunately, if you do go looking for it, you won't ever find it. You will find it in some Bibles. I have to be careful about that because some Bibles did write it is written in a book like that. But if you go read it in its original Hebrew to English, period. Nothing added. Don't making it sound smart. Don't try to rationalize with me. Make it right into my education. No, 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 no. Just flat out reading it as is, untouched. You're going to get a whole nother kind of story you might not be ready for. You might not be ready for that story, but yeah. Um, so I like the idea that um, even if we are saying, no, 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 Ham, Canaan, they're just cursed people. They just is what they get. It's nice to see that in the spirit of specifically like women, children from this group, or just people, right? People at this point who cannot speak up for themselves, defend themselves. That the world is looking and watching and engaging in that as a conversation, as seeing it as an issue, not a divine experience. So I do appreciate that. I love that part. Beyond um, that, I do believe that it's a travesty that a group from out of the Arab world it is okay with um, allowing things to unfold as such as they have, um, and is not really helping in moving things along to where it's going to be for the people who are who have a deep connection, like Lebanon, Palestine, Canaanite, like to have their own. Now, according to the Bible, every single rule of the command that is stated not to do to Canaan, it is being done to Lebanon, Palestine, and which, by the way, remember scientifically, they found the archaeologists that they have like up to the 90 percentile of the area location tying them to Canaanite ancestry. And of course, they got the story all wrong though. But that same story permits was permitting people to say, "Oh no, no, that's okay. That's a good thing because that's what the Bible says." And not even caring rationally, like, but what does the human mind, the human soul say? What does your human soul say? Is that what your human soul says? So thank goodness they just misread the whole thing. It's just a big misunderstanding. So I've been sending out the message. I know that it goes out there. I've been sending out like reading it, saying these verses correctly. Okay, so there you go. Ooh, that was a lot to get out. So Kamala Harris and her running mate Tim Walz and his family, and Kamala Harris's family too. They're going to bring and bringing in their daughter Hope, but they're bringing in Hope. Kamala Harris candidacy is bringing in Hope, and we're all looking for it. And I understand, her. I mean, the compassion is she is a woman. She's a wife, very dedicated. She's a wife first and a mother first, family first. I get that. This is her. That's real integrity. Her husband is Jewish, outright, like Jewish. Her husband is Jewish, but he also takes time to celebrate with. I believe she's Presbyterian, so Christian elements as well. So he gets the both of the two worlds, both the would be the Old Testament and the New Testament. So that's relatively nice. So that's good. Um, and yeah, I'm excited to seeing him become first gentleman. Absolutely, I'm so excited about that. And okay, what was I saying? Did I say anything? Oh yeah. Okay, back to the Jewish element. So in the Jewish element, George Washington, he brings the Sephardic Jews over, right? He gives them, welcomes them to the White House. He gives them the finances to set up community. So they were able to set up community, work, basically they became a part of high society. How do I know that? Well, I was there too, but I was preparing George Washington, the first president's wig. Yes, I was preparing his wig. So I would have come in through the black door. So I'm preparing George Washington's wig. Okay. I'm getting his wig together. So he goes up and he goes to actually to a church, and he dresses a synagogue, and he writes in the letter, and he states that today is a day of Thanksgiving. I want to make a covenant between the Jewish and the and the Christian. And he also said in that covenant, he proclaims, George Washington says that no, he says that you are God's chosen people. You're people who are chosen, and that he also states that you will have all the protections like that you will ever want. So when I say that they are his forefather, they're they got the blessing that a lot of other groups of people would have loved to have gotten in their exodus. That's not the kind of blessing that every group received, but specifically, that was how Thanksgiving was channeled. It was channeled between Jewish and Christian congregation. They congregated together and celebrated Thanksgiving. In fact, they still celebrate Thanksgiving to this day in a synagogue. Oh, and they set up in New York, where they've always lived since the genesis of time, which the time as far back as I can remember, would be when the founding of America. George Washington, as far back as I can remember in my in my DNA. Unless I beyond that, it gets supernatural. Okay, so um, yeah, they still live in Maryland. They've not left Maryland. They are noted to be in New York. That's their habitat. That's where George Washington set them up, and that's where they are today. And and they've done really well in maintaining that covenant, that agreement, that promise to George Washington. Will make great use of what you give to us, what you offer to us. Thank you. So that's that is that. Okay. Uh so that's why, yes, Kamala Harris is married. Yes, her husband is Jewish. But this is also why she as president, she's a president, right? Why the ties are so powerful. Like a covenant. It's like it's a blood relative. Like talk about like by blood. We can't undo that. That George Washington set that. He set that premises like in his be in the genesis of America, literally. That was forged. Now, what we can do, we can acknowledge where there are the discrepancies as we've done, like different structures. We can now take a look a bit more closely with this newfound scary understanding. By the way, I'm terrified, but we can now look closely and, we realize, okay, and you have to take a deep breath when you say that. Okay, I get it. Whew. So, because George Washington made this covenant with the Jews at the genesis of America, they've been in Maryland, New York since the beginning of time. That covenant that they're going to be protected and all that, and have all of the wealth and the riches being as chosen people. that's just something I have to embrace and accept. That's what the president said. As I'm doing his wig, by the way, I'm the one that would be I'm doing his wig to get him ready to so he can do the speech at the. It was at a temple. He went to a temple to do the speech, synagogue. He wrote the synagogue, and they were like excited, and they said, "Yeah, we can celebrate Thanksgiving." It's like this is truly their forefather. There's a forefather connection. It truly is. Now, I adorn President Lincoln, and you know why. With that fiery inauguration speech, that's what I needed, long awaited. But I do. There is an appreciation for. I mean, there are elements that indicated that George Washington. There were. Um, times like during the American Revolutionary War, yes, he did enlist black people to free them, black men to free themselves, maybe the soldiers, but maybe just, I don't know about your friends. So I don't know about that. Now remember, this is the genesis of America. So what much had they done considering now we're talking about we skip everybody else and go straight to Lincoln. And so there you go. Like Lincoln 3 years did the most in 3 years. Okay, for he is holy. He is like holy. Isn't he like a martyr? Like he's a martyr. Okay, so all right. So we just have to. So we're starting to acknowledge like, hey, you kind of tapped into the like the system bit, you know, that goes with you know, everybody's like, oh, the elephant is still in the room. No, the elephant's still in the room yet. It has not arrived. No, don't. So we still can't say it out loud, but we're like, and Kamala Harris, out of all people, universe has a sense of humor. Her husband is Jewish, and she's a woman. Well, she's a wife and a mama. What is she supposed to say? Like, it's so humorous. So like we're just like, okay, we can't quite say, uh, um, you're a bit privileged. So, but on the other hand, what we are learning, we are spreading our. I mean, this is our first year in. First year in the age of Aquarius. I think we're doing well. I think we're doing phenomenal, and we're going to continue doing great. And with that, I think that's it. Yay for humanity! Yay!